Okay, we're back. This is Take It to the House. Gary Barnes joining me again today. And Gary, we were just talking about kind of how you grew up, what sports meant to you, coaches in particular. You were talking about track and the decathlon and doing multiple sports. And, you know, I did a little bit of track, Gary, and at a younger age, I guess in middle school, junior high back then, we didn't have enough stuff, I guess, to do all 10, but we did like a pentathlon where you do several of them. And that was something that I did as well. And I think, I don't think it was the case with you, because it sounds like you were an elite sprinter. I was a probably a B-level sprinter, but I kind of hit my sweet spot at about that 400 meters. So I could, that's a tough race. But I was long-legged enough, and I had, I guess, the combination of a little bit of speed but a little bit of endurance, where I could do that 400 pretty well, and then I could throw stuff. So I was, even though I wasn't a lot of the big linemen would out throw me in the shot put, but I could hang in there, like get close to them. But then like javelin, I could throw it farther than anybody.
Yeah,
It's just because that was shooting and throwing is something I could always do. But the decathlon is tough. I know that. I had a college roommate who was a decathlete in college, and he was a great athlete and football player in high school, but he did the decathlon in college, and it's incredible the amount of training that you have to do that. But as you got toward making a decision about college, I know you went to Alabama in Tuscaloosa. So tell me, how did that unfold as that decision was made?
So I think the first thing you got to know is that I chose, even though Alabama called me pretty much before every game, especially my senior year and everything, just checking on me, wishing me a great game. I had a lot of other offers and stuff out there, but mentally, like I said, I'm from North Nashville, so I was kind of caught into the streets, and I mean really into the streets, and more than even what my mother knew. I had a younger brother, so I was almost scared to leave home for too far, because of just knowing my brother was up next to be in the streets, and I'm not. It was almost like, even when it come to my brother, it's like, single mother. It's
You
almost
wanted to protect him.
Yeah, I wanted to protect him. So I chose MTSU, and
Yeah.
I went to MTSU. Started as a true freshman.
What position?
Started as a corner.
Okay.
No, started as a true safety.
Okay.
Started as a safety. Because of my skill level, wound up moving the corner at a certain point, because we had a plethora of safeties, and from a team standpoint, especially me being a true freshman, it was easier. Coach Donnelly, he asked one day, "Hey, does anybody think they can play corner?" Well, me, I play corner. I don't care where I play. Jumped over the corner and operated there as well. But stayed at MTSU for a good while, for at least a year and a half. I think me coming out of North Nashville, I think that it was just a culture shock for me to now be around just so many people outside of the scope of my area.
And just for anybody who may not be familiar with Middle Tennessee, it's maybe an hour away?
Yeah.
Murfreesboro from North Nashville?
From North Nashville, probably 45,
It's
50 minutes.
southeast of Nashville, so, and where North Nashville you're talking about is probably 10 minutes outside the city, but to the north side. Yeah,
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. So went to MTSU, really enjoyed playing ball. Didn't quite like if I could say, the discipline and the structure of, far as what Coach Donnelly brought to the table. And as I grew up, I realized that might have been one of the biggest mistakes that I made when it comes to just not being able to receive direction from authority the way I should have. Typical adolescence, youth.
Yeah.
But within that, I think some coaches changes happened. And I remember the new coach coming in and talking about, hey, we're starting over from new. We're starting over from scratch. And all the way up to that gap, a lot of things at home had started to show that things were okay. like my friends, all of my best partners, they took my brother in and make sure that everything was okay, making sure that everything was good at home, even with my moms and stuff like that. So my partners, my friends, my community, they looked out for everything I had interest in back home,
Yeah.
and it gave me the courage to say, well, you know what, after the coach came in and talked about changes and we starting over new, I said, well, you know what, if I'm gonna start over new, I'm gonna start down there at Bama. I'm gonna go to Bama. I'm gonna go on and take what was being offered to me, and I'm gonna jump on down there. Got on the phone with this great guy that recruited out of this area by the name of Randy Ross. Randy Ross called him up, and I said, man, yeah, y'all have my scholarship still. He was like, well, Barnes, hey, you get down here, we'll take care of you. And so it just led to me having to pay for one semester, not semester, but just that semester.
Was that the spring?
I hit in the spring. So
Okay.
by the time the spring came, here I am in the spring practice, everything. Um, and I had a good spring. I won the Bear Bryant Award in the spring. And most of the time you win that Bear Bryant Award, they're going to award you a scholarship. So took home the Bear Bryant Award. Probably like 3 days after that, they called everybody up at practice, told everybody who received a scholarship, and I was one of them. So at
Nice.
that point,
And they had you at corner also?
yes, they had me a
Okay.
corner. They had me a corner. Then I moved back to safety. So the great thing about going to Bama from MTSU is facilities and meal table. So
Oh
the
yeah.
meal
Oh yeah.
table,
And who's the head coach?
right then it was Stallings was on his way out.
Okay.
Dubose had then
Yep.
came in as head coach.
Okay.
But that meal table down there was a little different. So here I am,
Yep.
going in, and now I'm eating. I went from little bitty steaks to big boy steaks, and now is I came where I probably gained 10 pounds within solid muscle
Yep.
by the time spring was over,
Right.
and from that they thought a better fit for me would be safety, and I rocked and rolled, but ran into it after I got my scholarship. I had an issue. I wound up tearing my ACL,
Mm.
tore my ACL, and that set me back a little bit. But
Was that in practice?
yes, that was in practice because I was down there. I was really, man, I had won kickoff return. I was about to be kickoff returner, everything, and just trying to show out, just trying to show people I got it,
Right.
and made a hard cut. And part of that was, I think, more or less of the weight that I had gained from
Yeah.
just the meal table scenarios like
Yep.
that, and I think that caused more stress on my body. Me doing things that now that weight had just kind of put more stress
You
on
know
my
what's
body.
interesting? I don't mean to get too sidetracked, but just on the point of your ACL,
Hmm.
I know you've seen the video of Bo Jackson's hip injury,
Hmm.
and you know what always strikes me as incredible to me about his body is it looks to me like, and how he talks about how he felt his hip just come out,
Yeah.
and he was really low to the ground,
Hmm.
and he just happened to get that one. I think it was his left leg, but he happened to get that left leg up, and his quads were so massive
Hmm.
that I just think because his legs were so strong,
Hmm.
he pulled his own hip out
Right.
of the joint
Right.
because his quads were stronger than that joint.
Hmm.
And so no normal athlete would be strong enough to do that. But it was just that rare. But I think to your point, sometimes I don't know if you would say you would do it differently because you do want to be bigger because you're colliding with people and it's a matter of physics. You don't want to just sometimes you need that body mass,
Hmm.
but sometimes your joints aren't used to the muscle mass and the joints don't, I guess, have time to strengthen as quickly as when you put on that
Right.
mass of muscle.
Right.
So anyway, but that makes sense. So you're playing safety, and what did you weigh when you came in, and then you were 10 pounds heavier than that once you got on the
I was right at I say I was right at 180, 187 by the time I got to Bama. By the
and
time that spring was over, I was probably like at 190, 190, 198, 199,
Yeah.
hitting that 200 mark.
And how tall are you?
I am 5'11".
Yeah.
And so when you
Yeah.
start doing that, not to mention now you putting on solid weight, and
Yeah.
a lot of things come out of it.
Yeah.
I always talk about the things that kind of affected me, and I do think that from even growing up, I wasn't used to having a surplus of food,
Yeah.
So even though, we had dietitians and stuff like that, nobody could really tell me how to eat. Nobody could really tell me how to,
Yeah.
like, not enjoy eating in the morning and eating at night. And I think, even though I'm working out, I'm running every day. I'm in the best shape of my life,
Right.
but still, from a position standpoint, you have to be leery of what you have going on,
Yeah.
and understand what it's kind of like one of them things as well. Now I'm in college. I was never really thinking about going pro until it's just like everything in my life. I was a step too late. Um, Never was thinking about going to college, but then all of a
Yeah.
sudden now I'm ready to go to college. Never was thinking about going pro, but then all of a sudden, you know what? I can go pro.
Yeah.
Um, but now where do I fit in from a pro standpoint? Now I'm this big safety. Now it's almost time where they got to use me as almost a rover moving up into the linebacker box at this point, because now, I'm locked in. I'm thinking I got to hit the weights every day. I got to eat every day. And I think some of those things, if hindsight was 2020, I would operate that totally different.
Right. Let's pause one more time. We're gonna come back in just a minute. We're gonna finish talking about the Alabama experience, and then kind of start talking about what was next for you as a young man in your life, kind of, and then how football kind of propelled you into that, what you learned from football, and then eventually, becoming a parent, and how it affected you as a dad. So we'll be back in just a minute. I'm Drew Robison. Gary Barnes joining me today. This is Take It to the House. Hey, this is Drew Robison. Thanks so much for watching this week's episode of Take It to the House. I think we're in segment 2 right here. Our guest was Gary Barnes. Really enjoy my time with Gary. Want to make sure that you all take a note of the contact information for Gary. You can reach him, email, check out his website of True Life Sports, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter X. All those things are ways you can follow Gary. And of course, I'll be putting those all on my handles and social media platforms as well. But make sure you get in touch with Gary if you have any questions about youth sports in the Middle Tennessee area. He is a great resource, an incredibly generous guy. Just it really loves helping parents, helping families, and would just love it if he can give any insight to parents and help out with any of the processes with any sports involving youth kids. So we'll get back to the podcast. Thanks again. Okay, welcome back to Take It to the House. Gary Barnes joining me today. We just finished talking, Gary. You tore your ACL. You were talking about how you were starting to think about things, but it almost felt like you started thinking about college kind of late in the process. You kind of thought maybe you had a chance at the NFL later in the process. But take me from recovering from your knee injury to how you finished up your career at Alabama.
I think, man, the greatest thing about being in college and being a great institution, you don't even have time to think about the fact that you even tore your ACL, because by the time I realized my ACL was tore, I think that next day I was already on the surgery table. So next the next week I was already on the road to rehab. So just pushing myself to get back, working out, being able to run and walk, I was back ready within back running fully 100% within like 8 months.
Yeah.
So I was all the way
And
back and rolling.
what month did you tear your ACL?
That it would have been right there in the fall, so that would have been probably right there headed into August
So was it before the regular season?
before the regular season.
Okay, so you missed that season, and you're back in time for spring or
Yeah, I
not?
was back in
Okay,
time for spring.
okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. And by now you're what year are you?
Now I'm a junior.
Okay,
Yeah, I actually had a good I actually had a good spring.
after
Yeah,
surgery, yeah.
you dealt with scar tissue, stuff like that, but overall, no, it was a good spring. But I think most of all, it just, I pushed on. I never could crack the starting lineup. After that, plus you know how it is when it comes to, just had good quality kids, freshmen, sophomore, all of those kids coming in and they players, and that's the greatest thing I learned. The difference between MTSU and Alabama is that, it may be one or two ballers like you at an MT or a smaller school like such, but at Bama, everybody coming through them doors,
Everybody's
they have
good.
a special skill that you might not see it just on their curb appeal, but you will see it at some point.
And this
Whether
is late '90s, right?
yes, this is
So
right.
Stallings was out. How long was Dubose there?
Dubose, Dubose,
Did he
I
stay as
want
long
to.
as you were there?
Yeah, he
Okay.
actually shows we. So I graduated with Sean Alexander, Chris Samuel, Reggie Grimes,
Yep.
players like that,
Yep.
and that year right there, we lost a fluke game to La Tech, um, last second play or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but that year we finished up number 3 in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
We got beat. My last game. This is how old I am. My last game was competing against Tom Brady. Tom Brady beat us on a last second field goal.
Okay.
But
Sugar Bowl? Was that the Sugar
Orange
Bowl?
Bowl,
It was Orange
Orange
Bowl.
Bowl.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. So overall, no, it was it's been a good run,
Yeah.
but I think, at that point, after my senior year was up, doing the pro days and all of that type of stuff, I'm locked in. I'm thinking, I got a chance. I got a chance. No
And
matter.
was it just NFL back then, or were you thinking maybe CFL? Or did you have an agent, or how did were you was somebody helping you with all your
Well,
options?
here's the thing. We can
Yeah.
go back to high school again.
Yeah.
And in high school, like I said, I didn't have nobody to tell me go to college. My uncle actually was probably the one person in my family saying, "Hey, go to college, Gary, go to college."
Yeah.
But outside of that, didn't have a lot of leadership in that. Didn't have people in my corner to advise me the right things to do. When I was in college, now all of my life I'm just thinking. I mean, all of this time I'm thinking, well, now it's NFL. It's NFL. Well, when CFL and and all of these options was put on the table, I kind of looked at them differently. I'm like, no, I'm not going over there. First of all, number one is that mentally, I was now at Bama, I was knocking fire out of people. So when I say not, I already felt like I was earning money within each lick that I was doing. So I'm trying to put my head on the other side of a person's chest.
Right.
So I knew that if I was going to keep playing football, now I had to be paid. I wanted to be paid the right way.
Right.
And so I didn't feel like the CFL and stuff like that was a way back to NFL, and I didn't feel like that money was good enough for me because the only
Yeah.
thing I could visualize is millions. But now that you're older, you realize, man, I might have should have took that. But
Right.
I know the Etterman Eskimos wanted me to come out there and play,
Yeah.
and for me, I'd really never been in cold weather, so I might have flew over there and did a tryout and put myself in good position to make the team. But I said to myself, nah, this ain't me. So I went
Yeah.
back home.
Yeah.
I went back home and
And so did they have a combine back then?
a combine. Yeah, they had combine.
And did you do the
No, I
combine?
didn't. I wasn't.
And
I wasn't not the NFL combine.
yeah.
No, I wasn't. I hadn't had enough stats to
Right.
make the
And
NFL
so, but
combine.
they had a pro day.
They had the pro day.
So how did your pro day go?
Oh, I had a good pro day.
So what did the NFL scouts tell you?
Basically, as far as my agent and stuff like that, talked to me about, probably being what's the name, a free agent,
Yeah.
going in as a free agent. And my only bid was actually getting up to Denver and getting a shot at trying to make the Denver Broncos. But it's kind of like the world of injuries. I wound up blowing my hamstring out up there, and so that right there never really got off the ground right there. So once
Yeah.
again, at the end of that point, I just went on and came on home.
Right.
And came home, and then I think I was stuck in that rut where now I don't even know what to do in life.
What was your did you have your degree yet?
Yeah,
What was your degree in?
criminal justice.
Okay.
Criminal justice.
Did you feel like you could use that for something as far as a career?
And I'm telling you, man, when it came to me, it's just like, and these are the things that I try and, now that I understand things, I try and teach the youth on how to go about things. Even when it comes to, my own son, making sure that he understands, what degree are you getting? What degree are you getting? What is the purpose of your degree?
Yeah.
Because I think mine within criminal justice, as I as I continue to operate with it, I think it's one of them things like you go to your counselor and also say, you know, um, how many credits do I need to graduate within this or that? And
Right.
instead of graduating with a psychology minor, it turned into a sociology minor, not caring really what it brought to the table.
Right.
It was just a matter of, how can I go on and get across that stage? And
Right.
even just choosing criminal justice, you got to understand, me choosing criminal justice is that I wanted to put myself in the lane where I felt like I could talk to a police officer or anybody that, of authority like that who challenged me or whatever. So that was the main reason why I took criminal justice. It wasn't the fact, oh, I'm gonna go to law school or anything
Right.
like that. I just, I've been pulled over and more harassed by police officers as a youth, that I wanted to be able to talk to them with knowledge of, I know the law.
Right. Right. Well, Gary, let's take another break. When we come back, I'd love to know kind of what led you to a point of wanting to work with kids, and we'll kind of weave in, becoming a dad, or however much that had to do with your desire to work with kids. Because at some point, you know, we all get to a point where we sort of adjust our thought process as to what's next. And sometimes, particularly as an athlete, because I think you were probably like me. I did not have any. I never even thought about playing in the NFL. But your wall may have come at the point of the NFL. My wall was major college football, and I had to kind of readjust and go. My Canada, so to speak, was Division III. So I wanted to play SEC football. That's why I went to Vanderbilt, because there was a coach that believed in me. There was a coach that told me you could play at this level. But when the system wasn't conducive to my skill set, I just kind of said, that's not me. I'm going to go play Division III. And, knowing some different things now, I might have done it differently. But anyway, when you kind of meet a wall in your life and you kind of say, well, the thing that I always wanted looks like it's not going to happen the way I thought, then it's like, how do you adjust that thinking? And then where does that take you, not only as to what you're practically doing, but how you think about your life and how you move on and go from there. So we're gonna be right back in just a minute. This is Take It to the House. We'll be right back.